Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Gabby and welcome. Here on my channel I do true crime videos, so if that's something you would be interested in, make sure to go down below and hit that subscribe button and quite possibly turn on the bell notification to be notified every time that I upload. So today I am back with another vintage and vanished video. I know this is some of your guys' favorite videos that I do here on my channel. I haven't done one in a little while, so I'm glad to be doing another one. Vintage and Vanished is a series on my channel where it's pretty self-explanatory. It's vintage cases of people who have mysteriously vanished. Today's video though is in collaboration with Anthony from Crime Blogger 1983. His blog is crimeblogger1983.blogspot.com. I have mentioned his blog quite a few times on my channel before. He is an insane researcher when it comes to cases. It blows my mind the amount of information that he is able to collect on the cases that he covers on his blog. He recently reached out to me on Instagram and said that he has covered a case on his blog that he feels like deserves more coverage. So obviously I was all for it because I trust his research 100 billion%. So as soon as he reached out to me, I was like, okay, let's do this video, let's collab on this, and let's collect some information and let's get this case out there more than it already is. Pretty much all of the information in this case is thanks to him. He did absolutely amazing research when it comes to this. So with all that being said, let's get right into the video. Today's vintage and vanished case revolves around one of San Antonio, Texas's oldest missing persons cases, and that is the disappearance of Beatrice G. Vallejo, a woman who had her entire life ahead of her and she mysteriously vanished. A story that is all too common. Beatrice G. Vallejo, known by friends and family as BB, which is what I'll be calling her for most of this video, BB was born on December 23rd in the year 1959. She was born to parents Manuel Torres Vallejo and Adelaida Gonzalez, and she had 4 siblings: Sylvia, Mary, Thelma, and Manuel. She was a bright young woman who had graduated from St. Francis Academy, an all-girls Catholic high school in San Antonio, Texas. She was described as being funny, lovable, talented, and just all around a wonderful person. When it comes to BB, she was a hairstylist and she was passionate about her work. She worked as a stylist and manager at the budget beauty salon that used to reside at 8511 Blanco Road in San Antonio. That, in today's time, is a Dollar Tree. The owner of this beauty salon was a man named Oscar Lozano, a man who BB had been in a relationship with for several years. There was quite an age gap between the two though. Oscar was 17 years older than her. Other than owning the salon, he also owned the condominium where BB lived at 923 Jackson Road, apartment 202A. BB and Oscar had a bit of a tumultuous relationship, and a little bit before she disappeared, which the date of her disappearance was September 28th, 1980, they had broke up. And not long after they broke up, BB started seeing a man named Joel. And this did not sit well with Oscar. Oscar became a little bit angry and he fired BB from the salon, and he took back a bunch of expensive gifts that he had given her. Some of these gifts included bracelets, a gold chain, and a steel and gold Rolex watch, which very pricey. But not long after this happened, only a few days later, he decided that he was going to rehire her and give her back these items. Not only that, but he purchased her a ticket to Chicago. He bought her round-trip flight tickets to and from Chicago, Illinois. This trip to Chicago was planned for October 1st, and the main reason she was going was to visit her sister Thelma, who lived there, and also, while she was there, she was going to attend a hairstylist convention. BB also had plans to eventually move to Chicago herself to further her career in the beauty world. Her sister Sylvia said she was so insanely excited for this trip, but she would never go on the trip, and the tickets would never be used, cashed, or refunded in any way. On the day that BB went missing, which was September 28th of 1980, which was a Sunday, she received a call from the owner of the salon, which was Oscar. He said that they needed to go pick up some beauty supplies from the beauty school, bring it back to their salon, and unload it. According to Oscar, she did show up for this. They went to the beauty school, got these items, brought them back to the salon, unloaded them, and then she was free to do whatever she needed to do for the rest of the day. The only thing that we know that BB was supposed to do that day, other than go to the beauty school, pick up the supplies, and unload them at the beauty salon, was that she was supposed to go to her sister Mary's home and pick up her niece and nephew and babysit them that night. Well, somewhere in between her doing this for Oscar and when she was supposed to show up to her sister Mary's home, she went missing. This was completely unlike BB to just not show up, but she never showed up and she's never been heard from again. BB's sister Mary phoned their sister Thelma all the way in Chicago, and she told her that BB never showed up for babysitting. Well, Thelma wasn't too worried, and she told Mary that maybe BB just had other plans, got wrapped up in something, and she became too busy to go over and babysit that night. No one really started worrying until the next day on Monday when BB did not show up to work. BB's sister Mary received a phone call from their cousin, who also worked at the salon. She said, "Her customers are here. Do you know where she's at? She's 20 minutes late." That's when the horror of the situation set in. Mary said in an interview, "I remember my dad screaming, cursing, yelling over the phone to the police department, telling them, 'What do you mean you can't do anything? What do you mean she's of age? She's 19 years old. She's not a runaway. We don't think she's a runaway. We're worried something has happened to her. No one has seen her now for almost 48 hours. There's nothing to be done. Sadly enough, it just got quiet because there was nothing else we could do." The sad thing about this case is that police, when they were told about her disappearance and her going missing, they thought that she was just a runaway. And she was of age, she was 19 years old, so they just figured that she had left and she would be back whenever she decided to come back. There was really very little, if not any, media coverage about BB's disappearance. And with little help from authorities, BB's family was left doing pretty much everything on their own. And one of the first things that they decided to do was go over to BB's condo. They were going to check around outside the apartment, inside the apartment, see if they could find any clues as to what happened to BB. When relatives checked outside and inside BB's apartment, not a thing seemed out of the ordinary. The only thing a little strange was it seemed like the expensive gifts that were given back to BB from Oscar were nowhere to be found. Very odd, but other than that, everything seemed to be fine to them. Other than BB being missing, so was her car. Relatives started looking around the area for BB's 1970 Buick that was in her sister Thelma's name. The car was later located on Sunday of November 9th, 1980 in an assigned parking spot at the Villa Bordeaux apartment complex at 170 Deschantel Road. Coincidentally, the vehicle was parked in a parking spot assigned to a foreign exchange student from India who didn't own a car, so this person didn't even notice that there was an unknown automobile in their assigned spot to park in. This foreign exchange student, the owner of the apartment complex, and most everyone else living there was questioned and shown a photo of BB. No one claimed to know the missing woman whose car was found in the parking lot, except one individual, and that was the assistant complex manager. When he was shown her photo, he claimed he had seen her before, once in the passageway of the complex. He said, though, that he did not know why she was there or who she was visiting that lived there. No time or date could be given by him as to when he saw her. They decided to look at people who lived in the apartment complex who had a criminal record. Now, they looked at all these criminal records and it didn't seem like any of them had any connection to BB in any way. Then the apartment manager was asked if anyone had recently suspiciously moved out of the apartments, and she said yes, a man named Armando, and this man had left on September 30th. This man left on very short notice, such a short notice that he didn't receive his security deposit back. Now, his reasoning for moving out was he was getting married. I'm not entirely sure if he was going to be moving in with a significant other or they were getting a place of their own, but he said he was getting married and he was moving out. Could this have been the man in the apartments that Bibi was visiting? Or was it just a huge coincidence that he moved out only days after she disappeared and that his apartment was not far from where her vehicle was parked? One thing that I have to mention about Armando is that he worked at the City of Hill Country Village at the time of Bibi's disappearance. He left the place of work in January of 1981 and moved to Fort Worth, Texas. A secretary who worked at the village with him, though, was shown a photo of Bibi, and she claimed that she had never personally seen her before, but she may have possibly seen a photo of her in the desk of Armando when he worked there. There was never a confirmation as to whether this was true or not. They did follow up with Armando later on, and nothing much came of that. He was never looked at as a solid suspect in Bibi's disappearance. Of course, in this case, one of the main people that was looked at was her ex-boyfriend, Oscar. And it seemed like he did care about Bibi's disappearance. He didn't act like he didn't want to help or he wasn't too interested. He did seem like he cared. He was her ex-boyfriend, he was the owner of the place that she worked, and he was the last person to have seen Bibi the day that she disappeared. He told authorities that Bibi at the time of her disappearance was holding $4,000 to $5,000 worth of jewelry for him and $1,000 cash. But he insisted he did not know her whereabouts. I'm guessing this $4,000 to $5,000 worth of jewelry was the gold chain, bracelets, and the steel and gold Rolex watch. But keep in mind that none of this jewelry was found in her apartment. Oscar was trying to be helpful to authorities and they asked him if he would take a polygraph test. Now, as we know, polygraph tests are not always a great way to prove somebody's innocence. We know that. But he agreed. That is until they refused to audio record his polygraph test being done, which I'm pretty sure he backed out of it because he was urged to not do it for legal reasons. They also questioned the person that Bibi was seeing after Oscar, and that was Joel. And he said that he was very much in love with Bibi, but that he had recently stopped seeing her after he found out that she was fired from her job. It didn't seem to authorities like he had anything to do with Bibi's disappearance. According to the Charlie Project, Beatrice G. Vallejo was a Hispanic female with black hair and brown eyes. She stood at 5 feet 6 inches tall and weighed about 140 pounds. One characteristic was she was right-handed. She also cut her hair quite short not long before her disappearance. At the start of this case, she was not considered an endangered missing, but now she is. If you or anyone you know has any information regarding her case, you are urged to call the Texas Department of Public Safety at 800-346-3243 or the San Antonio Missing Persons Unit at 210-207-7660. You can stay anonymous. Since Bibi's disappearance, a lot of people in her life have passed away. Oscar, her ex-boyfriend, is no longer alive. Neither are both of her parents, and also her niece that she was supposed to babysit the day of September 28th, 1980. Her siblings in today's time are still working hard on this case and trying to find out what happened to her and piece together everything, and they do not believe for a second that she just up and ran away, but they said that if quite possibly she did, that if she decided to come home, they would welcome her with open arms. Her sisters hope with the updates in technology and the power of social media, maybe her case can eventually be solved after 4 decades. Sandra Piquel of the San Antonio Police Department said, "Someone might become remorseful because maybe something they didn't share at the time, maybe they were younger, maybe they didn't want to get involved because of family. We don't forget and we don't close the case." Bibi has been missing for nearly 40 years. and we are nowhere closer to solving her disappearance than during day 1. It is still an active case in today's time, and in today's time, if she were alive, she'd be 60 years old. This was a woman who missed out on seeing her niece and nephew grow up. She never got to say goodbye to her parents before they passed away. She never got to spend more time with her siblings. She never got to possibly fall in love and get married herself and have children of her own and see them grow up. She had a whole entire life ahead of her, and her family just wants to know what happened to her. They ask the question every day, where is BB? There were dozens and dozens of people interviewed in this case, and none of it seemed to go anywhere. There are no new leads or tips, but her loved ones and authorities truly believe that someone out there knows exactly what happened to her, and it's time that they come forward. Unfortunately, Anthony of Crime Blogger 1983 and myself were unable to speak to any of BB's family members when it came to our researching, so everything in this video can be found online. When it comes to this case, a majority of individuals do look at her ex-boyfriend Oscar or Armando just because of the strange circumstances around him moving out right after she disappeared and her car being found not far from his apartment that he moved out of, and the fact that she was seen going to this apartment previously. It is strange though, in my opinion, that she did go to this apartment to obviously see somebody. Why are you going to park in an apartment and not see somebody who lived at the apartment? And pretty much everyone who lived there was questioned and no one claimed to have known BB. So was it possibly Armando who knew her, even though he claimed that he didn't? It all is very suspicious, and of course you have to look at Oscar because he was the last known person to have seen her, and he admits that. But like I said, he has since passed away, so if he did know anything, the chances of us ever knowing that are slim to none. I do have to agree with her family that I don't believe for a split second that she ran away. I believe that something happened to her, and I believe that somebody who probably stayed in the state of Texas for many years, if not still living there, knows what happened to her. And from research, it doesn't seem like BB was the type of person who rustled many feathers. She didn't really have many enemies or a known stalker that she had been talking about to anybody she knew. But of course, there's very little information about this case in general online, so we really don't know all of the factors when it comes to BB and her life before she disappeared. But of course, like with every single case that I cover, I want to know your all's opinions, so leave those down below in the comments of this video. And I have to give a huge thank you to Crime Blogger 1983 because I couldn't have done this video without you. If you have a little bit of spare time, you want to dive into some cases, go over to his blog. He does amazing research about a lot of cases that you guys have probably already heard of and some that I myself have never come across before. Last thing I want to say in this video, and it's just like a little tidbit here at the end if you've made it this far, I do now have a Twitter. It's here if you want to follow it. This is where I'll be giving most of my updates when it comes to my scheduled uploads and what I'm currently working on and random memes that I find. I don't know, but I mean, that's where I'm going to be kind of updating everybody and talking to you guys. It's really easy to just respond to people on there, so I'm now in the Twitterverse if you want to follow me there. But with all that being said, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.